The door swung open, and a figure stepped into Louis's diner, a historic eatery that had stood the test of time since 1934. The scent of sizzling bacon and fresh coffee clung to the air, but as the newcomer shuffled in, conversation lulled. A few patrons glanced up, their eyes scanning the man in tattered clothing, his sneakers falling apart, his hair disheveled under a thrifted baseball cap. He looked like a drifter, someone down on his luck, but beneath that carefully crafted disguise was none other than Elon Musk. Yes, that Elon Musk, the billionaire, the innovator, the man behind Tesla and SpaceX. But tonight, he was just another face in the crowd, a stranger testing the waters of human decency. Would people see past his appearance? Would kindness prevail, or would judgment rule? This wasn't just a social experiment, it was a revelation waiting to unfold. With a deep breath, Elon pushed forward, his hands stuffed into his pockets, his every step feeling heavier than expected. The bell above the door jingled, but no warm greeting followed. Her eyes flickered over him, assessing. "Seat yourself, hon," she finally said, nodding toward the least desirable booth near the kitchen. Not the prime spot, but at least it was a seat. Sliding into the cracked vinyl booth, Elon flipped through the menu, though he already knew what he'd order. His experiment had begun. At the next table, hushed voices filled the air. "Guess they'll let anyone in here these days," one man murmured. His companion chuckled under his breath. Elon didn't react. Instead, he observed. Maggie's warmth with the regulars contrasted sharply with the cautious way she approached him now. "What can I get you?" she asked, her voice polite but lacking warmth. "Just coffee and toast," Elon replied. She raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. Coming right up, a younger waitress, Lucy, emerged from the kitchen moments later, balancing a tray. She was newer, still finding her rhythm, but something about the man in the booth caught her eye. Unlike the others, she wasn't suspicious, she was concerned. "You sure that's all you want?" she asked softly, genuinely. Elon met her gaze and nodded. "That's all." Lucy hesitated before setting the coffee and toast down with a gentle smile. "Let me know if you need anything else, okay?" A kindness, small but meaningful. But as Lucy walked away, Elon caught Maggie watching, her lips pressed in a tight line. Across the diner, whispers grew. Probably looking for a handout, someone scoffed. Lucy shot the customer a sharp look but said nothing. Instead, she kept moving, treating Elon as she would anyone else, but the weight of judgment hung in the air. Elon took his time, absorbing every detail, the uncomfortable glances, the subtle shifts in body language, the unspoken assumptions. He had expected skepticism, but the contrast between the whispers and Lucy's small act of kindness told him everything he needed to know. As he sat quietly, he watched Maggie and Lucy continue their shifts. Maggie carried a tray of plates to a booth where a group of businessmen were chatting, laughing over their meals. She set their plates down with practiced efficiency, her demeanor markedly different from when she had served him. A man in a tailored suit waved her down. "Ma'am, I think we need another round of coffee here," he said, flashing a charming smile. "Right away, sir," Maggie responded, the warmth in her tone undeniable. Elon studied this interaction carefully. The ease, the friendliness, it was a stark contrast to the careful distance she had placed between herself and him. Moments later, an elderly couple entered the diner. Maggie greeted them with open arms. "Harold, Ethel, the usual?" "You know us too well, dear," Ethel laughed, handing her coat to her husband before taking a seat at the counter. No hesitation. No questioning of their presence, just warmth. Elon exhaled, understanding more clearly the pattern. It wasn't about who deserved kindness. It was about perceived status. Suddenly, a loud voice interrupted his thoughts. "What's this guy still doing here?" A burly man, likely a truck driver based on his attire, had turned his attention to Elon. His face twisted in distaste as he muttered to the server next to him. "Louis used to be a decent place." The words struck harder than expected. Lucy, overhearing, stiffened. Her hands clenched at her sides, but she said nothing, quickly moving toward Ellen's table. "Would you like a refill?" she asked him, her voice steady. Elon smiled faintly. "I'd love one." As she poured the coffee, Elon saw Maggie glance their way again. He could tell she had heard the remark too, but she remained silent. That was the true test, when people knew something was wrong, yet chose to do nothing. And then the moment arrived, when Elon stood. He did so deliberately. He pulled off his cap, running a hand through his messy hair. His voice was calm but clear as he spoke. "Tonight, I wasn't here as the man you know. I was here as someone you wouldn't look at twice." Gasps echoed throughout the room. Maggie's face turned pale. The truck driver's smirk faltered. The businessmen at their booth exchanged stunned glances. Elon scanned the room, allowing the silence to deepen. "I came here to see how people treat those they assume have nothing." Another pause. Then he turned to Lucy. One person one showed kindness without hesitation. Lucy looked frozen, unsure what to say. Elon continued, "Lucy, you didn't assume, you didn't judge. You treated me with respect." She swallowed, looking down. "I was just doing my job." "No," Elon corrected. "You did more than that." He reached into his pocket, pulling out an envelope. With care, he handed it to her. "This is for you." Lucy opened it, hands trembling. Inside was a handwritten note and a check. She blinked as she read aloud, "Lucy, thank you for your kindness. Use this to follow your dreams culinary school, your own diner, whatever you choose. The world needs more people like you." And then she saw it. A check for $50,000. The diner erupted into murmurs. Maggie looked away. The truck driver coughed awkwardly. Ellen's gaze swept over the stunned crowd. "For those of you who judged me tonight, let this be a lesson. Appearances are deceiving." Then he turned back to Lucy. "Never lose that kindness." And with that, he walked out of Louie's diner, leaving a room of people who would never forget what had just happened. Long after he had gone, the lesson remained, echoing in the hum of the old diner: kindness is the currency that never loses its value.